You're watching ABC 7 News at 4, starting with First Alert Weather.
Good afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with an update on Florence, and all eyes are on Florence as it heads toward the Carolina coast. It has picked up speed a little bit. It's moving faster. It's not nearly as impressive looking on the satellite imagery as it once was. Again, just about 12 hours ago. You can see it's going through a secondary eye wall replacement. What happens is these storms get so intense that they develop a secondary eye wall. The middle one, or the inside one, collapses and the storm starts to weaken a little bit, and then it goes through this process periodically through its life cycle every 24 hours or so. It looks like it's into that process of redeveloping that interior eye once again, or intensifying. Right now it's still a major Category 4 hurricane. Top winds at 130 miles an hour. They were at 140 this time yesterday. Gusts up to 160. It's moving to the west northwest at 17, and it's going to slow down a little bit as it approaches the Carolina coast. In fact, the European and GFS forecast models are suggesting that it may just kind of hang there right near the coast as a Category 3 hurricane, with winds gusting up to 165 miles an hour, and then dumping rainfall, maybe historic amounts of rainfall for this area as it sits around for 3 days over the Carolinas. Again, that rainfall forecast is very crucial in determining the likelihood of freshwater flooding. You can see that area in yellow, that's all plus 10. Some models indicating up to 20 to possibly 30 inches of rainfall. We'll have more on this and Isaac as well coming up in just a few minutes. Jacqueline, Scott.
All right, Bob, thank you. You're looking live at Emerald Isle, North Carolina right now, where Hurricane Florence is expected to hit. Kind of the calm before the storm there right now. More than 1 million people have been ordered to leave the entire South Carolina and North Carolina coast. 3 East Coast states have already issued mandatory evacuations, and millions of Americans are preparing for what could become one of the most catastrophic hurricanes to hit the eastern seaboard in decades.
Well, here at home, the latest now on red tide. Earlier today, the Manatee County Commission approved allocating an additional $500,000 from the Tourism Tax Reserve Fund to help keep the beaches clean of dead fish.
ABC 7's Jackie Kelly is on Anna Maria Island to tell us more about what commissioners are doing to help the red tide problem. Jackie?
Scott, Jacqueline, I'm here on Anna Maria Island, and I'm seeing more people out here than I have in the past couple weeks. Now, there aren't too many dead fish on the sand, and the color of the water is starting to turn back to normal. Now, today, commissioners decided to allocate an additional $500,000 to be used to clean the county-owned beaches. Commissioner Johnson says that there's still staff out here doing cleanups, and the sheriff department is still using their helicopter to determine where the bloom is at. Now, the county says they're encouraging locals to come out to the beaches, restaurants, and stores to help support everyone. And at 6, I talked with someone from the Bradenton Convention Center, and they tell me what they're doing about tourism. Back to you guys.
All right, Jackie, thank you. In the wake of this red tide outbreak, leaders in the city of Venice are taking a stance against fertilizers and their potential to pollute our waters and make those red tide blooms worse. ABC 7's Rebecca Fernandez joins us live now from City Hall with more about what happened in today's City Council meeting. Rebecca?
Scott, well, it wasn't the full stance that many city officials like the vice mayor were hoping for, but it still is one step closer in what they say is the right direction. City Council did not approve a citywide ban on fertilizers, but instead did decide on implementing a voluntary ban for each resident to have a choice on what they rather do. They also agreed on launching an educational program to teach people why it's a good idea to not use these products in our lawns. Residents were encouraged to send the city their opinions on the matter, and were also invited to join in on the discussion today before a decision was made.
The emails that came in support of stopping fertilization, and those that said no, keep it going, was almost a 50-50 split. So if nothing else, if the people that are really in favor of not fertilizing lawns just stop doing it, half of the lawns in Venice, in theory, would stop being fertilized. That's a really big first step.
In addition to this voluntary ban, officials will also be implementing a plan to better monitor outfalls from the city of Venice into the Gulf of Mexico. Live from City Hall, Rebecca Fernandez, ABC 7, your Suncoast News. Back to you guys.
All right, Rebecca, thank you. You can see all of our red tide coverage on our website, mysuncoast.com/red tide. Jacqueline joins us now with the latest on a shooting in Bradenton that left a 7-year-old injured.
Scott, a man has been arrested in Bradenton after a 7-year-old girl was shot while in her mother's car. It all happened over the weekend on Manatee Avenue East. Investigators say the 7-year-old was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Bradenton police arrested 18-year-old Axel Benito Ramirez for that shooting. Ramirez admitted to firing a handgun into the vehicle as it passed by. Investigators say there is no connection between the victim or her family and Ramirez. In Sarasota, extreme tint on a car's windows led to felony charges for the driver. Police stopped the vehicle on North Washington Boulevard Saturday after noting how dark the windows were. After searching the car, police found marijuana, crack cocaine, and a pistol with an extended magazine and a bullet in the chamber. Tori Mitchell was then arrested for felony gun and drug charges. A woman in California is being accused of inventing a fake firefighter husband to scam donors out of thousands of dollars in cash and supplies. Police say Ashley Bemis allegedly used a Facebook group to plead for help for the man she claimed was her husband, under the ruse that it was to help fire crews battling the deadly Holy Fire. Bemis is accused of receiving over $11,000 in donations and supplies over the last month, including air mattresses, blankets, and food. According to court documents, she resold those items online instead of giving them to firefighters.
To give back to the firemen for what they're providing our state, and then to have it all be fraudulent, it's just heartbreaking.
Investigators say Bemis used the Holy Fire to play on people's sympathies, something experts say to be on the lookout for when it comes to any natural disasters like wildfires and hurricanes. Now to the turmoil at CBS, where the network announced that longtime CEO Les Moonves will be stepping down. He's facing claims of various forms of sexual misconduct from over a dozen women over a span of more than 3 decades. Now new details are coming out about his exit package. CBS now saying that $120 million will remain in a trust until the end of an independent internal investigation into those allegations, and that he would not receive any of that money if it is determined that Moonves can be fired for cause. Well, let's send it back to Scott with more on how people here on the Suncoast are remembering the lives lost in the 9/11 attacks.
Jacqueline, it's been 17 years now on a Tuesday that the United States was attacked and nearly 3,000 Americans died. At Ground Zero, survivors, first responders, and victims' families attending the annual reading of victims' names. In Shanksville, Pennsylvania, President Trump and the First Lady honoring the people of Flight 93 who fought back against the hijackers. Vice President Mike Pence and Defense Secretary Jim Mattis were at the Pentagon. They read victims' names, laid a wreath, and observed a moment of silence. At 9:37 Eastern Time, the moment a plane crashed into the Pentagon. Some Suncoast students remembering the 9/11 attacks this morning. The cadets line up each morning to raise the flag at the Sarasota Military Academy, but today's formation was different. After reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, they raised the flag to have staff, observed a moment of silence, and then taps were played. Development Director C.J. Bannister says most of these cadets weren't even born yet in 2001.
The mood was definitely a little more somber this morning because everybody was prepared to pay their respects to the 9/11 victims. And it's an interesting dynamic because most of the cadets that are here at SMA right now were not born during 9/11, and they didn't experience what we all did.
Bannister says she recalls 9/11. She had just gotten out of the Air Force and felt helpless that she couldn't do more to help the country. Northport Police and Fire Rescue hosting a Patriots Day ceremony this morning at City Hall. This video posted on their Facebook page as they took a moment to reflect on the lives lost that day. The public was invited to the ceremony to honor all Patriots, including military, fire, police, and EMS. Still to come, insurers in Florida are reminding you to double check your coverage before a storm approaches. And we'll have another look at the first alert forecast, plus the latest on Hurricane Florence. And a young dancer diagnosed with a rare form of cancer thought she'd lost it all. But thanks to a rare surgery option, it turns out it was only the beginning.
Ever since I can remember, I've been intrigued by industrial design and the optimization.
Wait, that's passion? Ever since I can remember, my passion has been industrial design. We need 3D printers for Miss Adams' engineering program so that we are ready to solve 21st century challenges.
Impressive. Think It Up is a new initiative to support student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classroom today? Think It Up.
You like to pay less. That's why you made Honda Accord the best-selling mid-size car in America. Get the redesigned Accord, the North American Car of the Year, or Civic, a KBB.com Best Buy for less than the competition. Like SUVs and trucks? Get Motor Trend's SUV of the Year, CRV, the 8-passenger Pilot, or Ridgeline truck for up to $4,240 less. Today at your local Honda dealer.
I heard about the Detoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Detoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Detoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
Need more space in your place? The More Space Place can help with Murphy beds that disappear to reveal a home office, living room, or den. Custom closets with designated areas for your shoes, bags, wardrobe, and accessories. Custom-built entertainment centers, garage storage systems, and more. The More Space Place has 3 showrooms next to Sonny's on US 41 South in Sarasota, on Lakewood Ranch Boulevard just south of State Route 64 in Bradenton, and on Tamiami Trail next to Panera Bread in Port Charlotte. Put more space in your place at the More Space Place.
Gettle's got what you're looking for at Gettle.com. 17 new car brands, over 1,000 used vehicles, prices and payments you can afford. Credit help if you need it, and they pay cash for your old car. Plus, Gettle Pre-Owned Certified Plus means buying with peace of mind. Need service? Gettle's got that too. Gettle's got it. Visit Gettle.com.
Everybody can make something, because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Major airlines are offering change fee waivers for travelers impacted by Hurricane Florence. Florence expected to hit the Carolinas later this week. Mandatory evacuation orders were announced in parts of Virginia, North and South Carolina. Delta, American, United, Southwest are among the airlines that will waive change fees or fare differences. The waivers for Hurricane Florence cover 23 different airports. And as the hurricane season reaches its peak with 3 named storms spinning in the Atlantic Ocean, property insurers say they are prepared if a storm were to hit Florida this year. Insurance companies want to remind customers to double-check their coverage before a storm approaches to avoid any unexpected costs following a disaster. Insurers say any damage due to Hurricane Florence should not cause increased premiums here in Florida. And crews here on the Suncoast are preparing to help those affected by Hurricane Florence. 32 people with Florida Power and Light in Manatee County to Naples are being deployed to help. There are a total of 500 people with FPL that are headed to the Carolinas today to help restore power after the storm. And remember, while this storm is not impacting the Suncoast, there's still 2.5 months left in our hurricane season. And if you still need to get a plan of action in place, go to our website, mysuncoast.com, and under the Weather tab, you can find a link to our 1-hour hurricane special called Surviving the Storm, as well as a printable 2018 Hurricane Guide. Jacqueline's now in the newsroom with a look at what's trending today.
Scott, a unique surgery is giving a New York girl who lost her leg to cancer a chance to dance again. Delaney Unger has been a dedicated dancer since she was 3 years old, but at age 12 she learned that she had a rare bone cancer that would require doctors to amputate her knee. However, a rarely used surgical option called rotationplasty is now giving this dancer some hope. Doctors were able to use her ankle and foot turned backwards as a new knee.
The beauty of that solution is that you can now control your ankle as if it was your knee.
People stare at me a lot too, but I'm kind of used to it now, so I don't care.
A lower leg prosthesis now fits over her foot, which the family nicknamed her Cankle. Delaney, now 13 and cancer-free, hopes to resume dancing, and she also has a new dream to one day become a doctor. An Oklahoma woman woke up to find a strange intruder in her bedroom. Take a look at this live coyote that was crouched in the corner of her room. The woman grabbed a nearby golf club for protection. Now she believes it somehow got in through her home's back door after possibly seeing her cat. The woman called police, who came in to capture that coyote, later releasing it safely back into the wild. And take a look at this aftermath of a semi-truck that crashed into a two-story apartment building in Lansing, Illinois this morning. It took crews 3 hours to free the driver from the cab of that truck. He was taken to a hospital with injuries that were not considered life-threatening. One person inside the building was taken to another hospital in critical condition. A witness says the driver told her he fell asleep at the wheel. 3 rescuers also had minor injuries. Well, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan for a look at our first alert forecast this hour. Bob.
Oh, look at this. Again, very active season so far, and we still have, as Scott said, many months to go, a couple months in fact to go before the official end of hurricane season, which ends November 30th. And typically the storms that have an impact on the west coast of Florida happen in October, so we still have that month to go through. Right now, let's hope all the energy is being used up and displaced and moved around. That's what these storms do. Florence, obviously the biggest of all of them. Isaac is getting a little stronger, and Helene is going to stay out there in the open waters of the Atlantic. This one is actually going to move to the southwest, which is a little unusual. Keep an eye on that. That's a disturbance. This one looks ominous down to our south, but this is going to move off toward the west-northwest. But Isaac will have to watch, but right now I'm not too concerned about it at all. Well, as the infrared satellite goes, you can see we have all sorts of different weather at play right now. We have a high-pressure ridge building in over the Great Lakes. That's going to eventually stall this system out as it builds to the north all the way out to Bermuda. It's not going to allow it to advance northward, which typically the storms do as troughs move through the eastern third of the nation and fronts move through and usually pick these up and carry them off to the northeast. There's nothing like that around, and it doesn't appear there will be for some time. As far as this system goes, high pressure over Florida will keep this on a west-northwesterly course, so that should not be a big player for us down to our south. We are seeing some of the high clouds associated with it. This is the visible image of satellite of Florence. Now you can see the center well defined now. It's looking a little healthier on the last few frames too, and I have noticed again some multiple vortices inside the center of that storm. As far as the warnings go, we have hurricane warnings out from Virginia all the way southward through North Carolina and South Carolina tonight. The area in blue that you see there in green, we're talking storm surge possibilities of up to 15 feet high as it makes its way toward the coast. Right now it's a 4. Could be a 3 before it makes landfall. We are expecting it to encounter some stronger winds in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere just before landfall, which should weaken it down to a 3, but still a 3 is a major hurricane. It does catastrophic damage as it makes its way on shore. It's moving to the west-northwest at 17. That motion is expected to continue for 24 hours, and it will start to slow down a little bit as it approaches the coast, up to 150-mile-an-hour winds tomorrow. So it is going to go through that secondary eye wall replacement. And it actually could do that again right before landfall. So if that happens, it'll weaken. But the problem is when it does that, it expands its wind field significantly, and then making landfall as possibly a Category 3 and just kind of hanging around for a few days throughout this area. We're going to talk about heavy rainfall. That's the biggest concern for inland areas. Obviously, the GFS yesterday had the storm kind of spinning around through Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Now it's starting to move a little faster off to the north, but still it would stick around for at least 3 days there over the Carolinas. As far as the GFS forecast goes, you may recall the European I showed earlier showed that heavy rainfall mainly near the coast. This one showing it well inland, so we'll keep an eye on that for you. Obviously, the storm that we're going to watch closely is Isaac down to our south. That's pushing to the west. It is gaining some strength. It can be Category 1. Going to cause some problems to the northern Leeward Islands as it makes its way into the Caribbean. And this one, as I said, heading off to the northwest, so it should not be a big factor. Well, as far as the forecast goes for boaters tomorrow, winds will be out of the east, turning to the northwest at 5 to 10 knots. The extended forecast, 30% chance for scattered storms tomorrow afternoon. Most of that should be inland east of I-75. Same goes true for Thursday. There will be a few coastal showers, and then less of a chance over the weekend with partly cloudy skies expected. Be sure to follow all the storms with your First Alert weather app. You can download that for free. Go to our website, mysuncoast.com, click on weather apps or apps in particular, and you'll find a way how to click that and make it easier for you as opposed to going to your weather store and searching for WWSB First Alert weather app. But that's easy too. Download it and follow along all the storms.
Well, Bob, this powerful Hurricane Florence is forcing millions of people to evacuate from North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. Forecasts now predict Florence could dump up to 30 inches of rain, even more if it stalls over the East Coast, as Bob just showed us. Forecasters say this storm could be the worst to hit this area since the 1950s. Lines of traffic at gas stations and roads leading out of town are growing longer.
And the models are starting to change again, too, with the European heading southward. State officials reversing the direction of some highways to help get people out faster. More than 1 million people already told to get out now, with new rounds of evacuation orders expected throughout the day. President Trump has already approved federal aid for North and South Carolina and even canceled a second campaign rally this week because of Hurricane Florence.
Well, now to Hawaii. There's not been much movement in the Hawaiian island of Kauai as they prepare for Tropical Storm Olivia. That's because many say they are well prepared after Hurricane Lane. The main thing people are concerned about is shipments into the port. The world's biggest airplane is helping with storm preparations in Hawaii and in Guam.
And that 225 Anatolov, I guess, landed today that delivered FEMA supplies ahead of the storm that's expected to hit tomorrow. Now, this storm that's going to hit Hawaii isn't a big wind maker, but it's going to be a heavy rain maker. The plane will then fly to Guam, which is being threatened by a typhoon. The aircraft is more than 270 feet long and can carry 500,000 pounds. The plane is one of a kind. It was originally designed for the failed Soviet space shuttle program there.
Yeah, it's huge for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, thank you. Still to come on your News at 4, a Texas A&M couple expecting their first child, shocked to receive a sonogram of their baby holding up a hand sign for their rival school.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Roberts from Suncoast View. Coming up tomorrow morning live at 9, we celebrate 60 years of Florida fashions with a Lilly Pulitzer fashion show and a preview of their fall resort collection. Then get your calendars ready. The Van Wezel will preview their show-stopping upcoming season and tell us how to get tickets. It's all coming up tomorrow morning. We'll see you at 9.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
During the past 10 years, Tidewell Hospice volunteers have provided more than 1 million hours of service. They sit with patients, giving caregivers a break. They work in offices. They take their furry friends on pet therapy visits. They even clown around. Every task performed by a volunteer makes a difference in the lives of our patients and their families. Join Tidewell's volunteer team. They're truly 1 in a million. Tidewell Hospice. It's more than you think.
If you think it's hot outside, just wait until you see even hotter savings inside. Only at Rugs As Art Hot Summer Savings Sale event will you find the lowest prices on a vast selection of stunning rugs, furniture accents, and accessories. This special event only happens once a year, so hurry in before the best selections are gone. The Hot Summer Savings event ends soon, so don't miss out on the best prices ever. Rugs As Art, Sarasota's only area rug superstore.
Call to see if you qualify to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan right now. At Humana, we believe great things are ahead of you when you start with healthy. And part of staying healthy means choosing the right Medicare plan. Humana can help. With Original Medicare, you're covered for hospital stays and doctor office visits when you're sick, but keep in mind you'll have to pay a deductible for each. A Medicare supplement plan can cover your deductibles and coinsurance, but you may pay higher premiums than you do with other plans, and prescription drug coverage isn't included. But with an all-in-one Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you could get all that coverage plus Part D prescription drug benefits, all for an affordable monthly plan premium, and in some areas, no plan premium. It's all described in this free book. Call for yours and discover how an all-in-one Medicare Advantage plan from Humana could save you money. There is no obligation and the book is free. Call or go online right now.
Chris Domine is a husband, father, an athlete, even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris's kidneys were failing.
The doctor said if you don't do dialysis, if you don't get a kidney transplant, you are going to die.
Then Chris received a second chance, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
Imagine what you could make possible. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
A Central Texas couple, both Texas A&M alums expecting their first child, were surprised when a sonogram showed something unexpected. The soon-to-be mother, Samantha Perkins, says Aggie blood runs deep in her family. She was even a member of the Texas Aggie Band. But she got the shock of her life when she and her husband got their sonogram back. Peeking out in the image, their son making a hook 'em horn sign, the hand sign of the Aggies' arch rival, the University of Texas Longhorns.
I don't know how many babies do that in the womb, and so we laughed with the nurse.
She says she's doing everything she can to do now for her son to make sure he knows where his future loyalties should lie, but she says she's just excited to see that her baby had 10 toes and 10 fingers. That's awesome. And we're just getting started here on ABC 7. Let's get back to Jacqueline in the newsroom for some of the other stories we're working on.
Scott, the threat of Hurricane Florence is barreling towards the East Coast, and it serves as an important reminder to make sure you have your hurricane kits ready. Coming up tonight at 5, we'll hear from a local emergency operations office on the importance of these kits. And tonight at 6, a group of volunteers and veterans in Bradenton are lending a helping hand to better the life of one of their own. Let's check in with Bob one last time for a final look at our forecast this hour.
Good afternoon, everyone. Some showers down to our south right now. Not much going on here. Pretty quiet. There are some inland storms pushing off to the east. We're going to see a return to those afternoon scattered storms. It looks like most of the action will be east of I-75 throughout the day tomorrow. But for the time being, 1 or 2 pop-up showers not out of the questions through this evening, but not too bad. Now, Tropical Storm Isaac, soon to be Hurricane Isaac, will approach the northern Leeward Islands and the Lesser Antilles with winds up to 75 miles an hour. And it looks like it could be staying as a tropical storm through the Caribbean now. As far as the forecast goes, as I mentioned, there are 2 schools of thought. It's either going to get caught by a high pressure ridge and taken up to the north, or actually Florence will draw it up north. So that's one school of thought. The other school is to keep it on a more westerly course off into the Gulf of Mexico away from Florida. So there's not many models showing it right toward Florida. So good news on that front. More at 5. Scott?
All right, Bob, thank you. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again at 5.